Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by Advance Auto Parts. Well, we got good news and we got diagnostic news. The good news is the system held the pressure. It's been more than 15 minutes and we're still at 18 psi, so I feel really good about the sealed nature of the system right now. While I waited, I actually climbed inside, pulled back the rugs. I was looking for any kind of seeping or weeping of antifreeze from the heater core. It also looks great. So we've got to move on to the electrical system as it relates to the cooling system. What that really means is check the fans. So step one was to go to MotoLogic and find the fan relay, which we've located right here. Now this is a complex circuit, so we're going to take our time. I'm going to pull that relay out, and what we're going to do is test for voltage down to the fans and see if those motors will run. See these little T-pins right here? You can get them at Walmart in the sewing section, but this is what you need so you can get your alligator clips on for your DVOM and your jumper. So we got to go to the high amp side of the relay. Now here's a little tip. Many times these relays have the information on the side of them, but it is brutally hard to read. So you may have to look up this information online and see exactly which pinholes you need to hit. So we're going to jumper the high side down to the fan circuit. Put the T-pins in. Now, this too, invaluable tool, one of the cheapest ones to make, but you gotta have it. It's a fused jumper wire, so we're not gonna do any damage to the computer or anything else because we'll blow the fuse first if I touch something the wrong way. So the next step is let's connect the high side to the fan circuit. This is the high amp current. Through a jumper wire, we're good. Now, the fan should be running at this point. The next step is, since they're not, we're gonna disconnect this wiring harness connector, pull it aside, and one step of validation here. I know from my MotoLogic diagram which side's the negative. Now what I'm testing here is the leg down to that fan connection, that harness. And if the fan motors are bad, we should see 12 volts right here on our DVOM. Let me get it connected, and there you go, 12.5 volts. The problem is the fan motors. So I'm gonna get this swapped out. You know what, it makes perfect sense. John said that in traffic, this thing would heat up, and on the highway, it was manageable amount of overheating. So I'm going to go ahead and get these fans swapped out. John's going to show you how it all works.
Well, Brian jumped the relay, and he didn't get his fans to run. What is a relay, and how do the coolant fans actually work? Well, no worries. ATEC sent us this complete cooling fan on a board with relays intact. Now, most cars today work the coolant fans through the actual computer, the PCM or the electronic control module located right there. So they're computerized. Well, what does that mean? That means there's different criteria that turns them on. Right here we have an air condition pressure. A lot of times when you turn on your air conditioning, your coolant fan should come on. Why? I got to get the air across that condenser. Now over here you got temperature. That also controls the coolant fans. Some come on at 232, some come on at 252. Just depends on your make and model. Maybe one at 232, the other at 252. So you have to check for your service manual to see when they come on, but they do come on with temperature. Now jumping his relay, that's hugely important. Why do we have a relay, and what is a relay? Well, it's a mechanical switch is what it is. It switches a low amp circuit and allows high amps to go through it. So that's super important. You can see down here, this is the low amp circuit right here, the little ones. That's what the computer is going to control to magnetically pull in the relay and make it work. So Brian was very, very careful to get on the high amp side. He took a fused jumper wire, which was hugely important because we don't want anything to go wrong. We want to blow the fuse in case we get it wrong and not mess with the computer up there and make sure it works. Then he took the high amp side here on the big leg and he jumped completely over the relay. And if it was working, the fans should work. They should both blow. So what happened is I bypassed the relay and I know the circuit's good up to there. Now, when you're checking this, the fans may run. Don't condemn the relay. Remember, there's criteria that the computer has to use to pull that relay in to make it work. So you're gonna have to make sure that he's asking for the fans to actually come on. Now, Brian, he's about got it whooped. He's ready to test it. I hope he fixed our charger.
There we go. Final mounting bolt on the new fan. Here's the old one. It's out. It's not that big of a job, really. 2 tabs at the bottom, 2 10mm bolts at the top. Now, the moment of truth. Let's test this circuit, reconnect it, and validate the repair. There's the click. Left my T-pins in. Remember the jumper wire, still fused. When I connect these, we ought to have our cooling fans run. There you go. Now that's cool. That validates the repair. I think John can drive wherever he wants, however he wants now. Be sure you get your relay back in the right way. Get everything buttoned back up. The one thing we didn't talk a lot about was a thermostat, but you're going to see how important that is to the system on the Project Resurrection RSX after the break. Stay with us on Tech Garage, presented by Advance Auto Parts.